So you picked up one of these new Osmo Pocket 3 cameras and you're probably wondering what to do next. Well, do I have the video for you today. I'm gonna show you some cool accessories that you should get for your DJI Osmo Pocket 3 so you can maximize the features on this awesome camera to be able to use it to the best of its ability for your gain. And full disclosure, these are gonna be accessories by Smallrig, but they are not sponsoring this video. I just reached out to them to see if they wanted to send me some products that I was curious about to test out and that I've been genuinely enjoying to use with my Osmo Pocket 3 that I think will benefit you. So I just wanted to make that disclosure because they're not paying me or anything to do this video. I just think that it'll genuinely help you out because it's helped me out. So I wanna make sure that you guys are ready for the accessories that will make you take your camera to the next level to make the best content that you can. So the first one we're gonna cover, because if you wanna accessorize your actual Osmo Pocket 3, since it is very bare, it doesn't really come with it much unless you get maybe the creator combo, but even then, it's the little cage. This little cage, you're able to simply just go ahead and put it over like that, and then just, you close it at the end, and that's pretty much it. You got the cage on. That's all it is. Now, why would you want to do this? Well, if you're planning to use your Osmo Pocket 3 for maybe a little bit more production, if you need to have maybe for the car photography or videography style of, behind the scenes of things, or you want to do some roller shots, this will be a little bit easier to mount up on a car setup to be able to have it in control to get those videos that you might need. Because with it has all these 1/4 inch kind of threads so that you can essentially add more to the camera. For example, you could do a little bit of a Smallrig, a magic arm where you can kind of go ahead and, put it on here and go ahead and just go boom, right so. Because then I can just go ahead and maybe mount it onto something else because I do have a clamp upstairs. Or for myself, I don't really do that much of the car things, but it is nice to have it where I can essentially have a little bit of the 1/4 inch threads to be able to just go ahead and mount it on a tripod if needed be. Or eventually what I plan to do as well is to be able to have this little attachment that I have to essentially make the camera be on top of my, mirrorless camera to be able to go ahead and maybe record vertically while I do something horizontally. So if you need something like that, would be great to have something along the lines of this. The cool thing as well is that it has a little bit of the thread area that you can put maybe like some type of shotgun microphone that might connect via USB-C since it doesn't have an audio kind of jack, but you can also kind of mount other things of it. So if you want to put it right there and just go ahead and close it, then you have a different type of mount as well that you can, essentially put other stuff into it. So like that. For myself, if anything, more than most people will try to do is mount some sort of light, and depending on what types of lights, you can have something like this that does have that kind of thread that you would just put it on it like so, and go ahead to have your obnoxiously big light. But there are smaller lights. I just don't use a light usually with this. I have that for that purpose, but you can go ahead and just have a little bit of an extra light, which is super bright right now, but you get the point. I mean, it would just look like so. But a lot of people tend to rig it out with something smaller of those lights. There's some Amaran ones that are like small. This one was a Zion 20. So, you can just pick and choose what you want to, but you're able to accessorize a little bit further into your camera to make it more, professional. One little drawback that I'll let you know on is that if you do put on the cage, you're not able to put it back into its case like this because it just, won't close into it. See, just doesn't. And that's okay, you gotta pick and choose your battles, but just so you know. Now, for those that wanna have some nice crispy sound, we're gonna go ahead and show you how the Smallrig wireless microphones work with the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. Some people might not wanna use microphones all the time, but I think it's something that is more valuable to have when it comes down to your cameras because sound is so important. One of the things that I do myself, even if I'm using just an internal microphone, I wanna make sure that I'm facing where the little microphone section that there is, but if I don't wanna worry about it so much, I want to use a wireless microphone setup like the Smallrig one. I opted out of the creator combo because I got this one in Costco and it did not come with it, and it was such a good deal that it just didn't make sense for me to go get a different microphone when there's other better alternatives that can work out for the price point if you want to kind of accessorize differently and not want to have just to get what you get with the creator combo. But everybody's different. I know there's some pros and cons with their microphone from others, but I just want to showcase a little bit of a good wireless microphone that can work out really great for a setup with this. So now I'm just gonna go add my little tripod kind of scenario of the extension of my DJI Osmo Pocket 3 because I'm gonna use the little tripod so I can show you how it'll work and sound and everything. That way, you know, we can switch over to this one. All we have to do is just open this up, take out this USB-C part so that if I'm right here, you can see it just go in there. There it is. Now, all I have to do is get one of the magnets, which is in there, and then just get this one out there. And just like how I'm doing with this one, I'm gonna go ahead and add both of them so I can have a backup essentially right now since I'm filming with my camera itself over there, and just have it right there. So all we're gonna do is now turn this baby on. Voila, this is vlogging, essentially talking with the microphone from Smallrig right here with the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. It comes with 2 receivers, which is kind of nice. So if you're going to be doing videos with people or you want to interview people, you can ensure that you'll have 2 microphone sounds so that you can keep one on yourself and then use the other one for the person that you're interviewing or anything of the sort. Cool thing about it is as well, you see those little lights are lit up right there. Those are lights that show you that it's, you know, essentially charging up the microphone so that you have some more battery with them, and you can make sure that you have long-lasting audio when it comes down to filming and getting that crispy sound. Nice thing about it as well is you have this section right here that it has a little magnet right in there where you can essentially just put the magnet that it attaches to it so that you can always have it secured and not lose it. Nothing is worse than losing the accessories that you need for something, so they thought about it and it's pretty great. So something very small and compact that you can fit into a bag or anything so that you can have everything in one section, which makes it so much easier to use. And you could be wondering why you should have a wireless microphone. Well, this is it. If I want to stand away from the camera while I'm trying to film myself or anything, I can ensure that I have crispy sound. So if I want to go ahead and, you know, kind of pretend like I'm watching and talking and everything from over here, you'll still hear me nice and great, just the same way that if I would approach it, because if I had just a microphone that's on board of the Osmo Pocket 3, you wouldn't be able to essentially hear me as well if I was far away. So the cool thing about that is just that. I mean, I can go ahead once again, keep moving back, you're still hearing me. So you got a little bit of an example of the sound of the microphone with the Osmo Pocket 3 that would be essential to ensure that you have good sound. It's time to cover probably the most essential thing you'll need for your Osmo Pocket 3. We got to cover a little bit of the filters. The first thing that I'm going to cover is the ND filter kit that it comes with 3 different ND filters that it ranges from the 8 to the 64 to the 256 so that you can ensure you have the proper exposure for the 180-degree rule for your shutter speed and as well for the ISO to stay as low as possible so that you have a nice clean image. Something like this is very important if you want to shoot more in the manual mode of your Osmo Pocket 3. That's something that I personally want to do more because I like to have control of the situation rather than always having it do an auto when it just goes and just shifts around depending on the exposure. That sometimes it's fine if I'm more of a quick, you know, on the run kind of style, but if I want to have a little bit more of a cinematic kind of type of feel, I don't want things to be moving up and down of the exposure. So I want to use these for that. Time to give you a little bit of examples of what these can do so you can get an idea of why you would need them. So the purpose of using an ND filter is just like this. I want to have the proper exposure because if you see, if I go that way, it gets overexposed. So I need to make sure that I bring it back to essentially the right exposure so that I can have that 180-degree rule like I use with my mirrorless camera. So we're gonna do it the same thing with the Osmo Pocket 3. So I currently have it overexposed because I'm doing it manually mode. It's at 100 ISO. So if I put this in the front of the lens, it'll have it right there. Now it is properly exposed. This is the ND8, so that's what it looks like to ensure that I have the right exposure and to make it look nice. So what I plan to do as well is just keep it at the same ISO so you can see the different intensities of the ND filters. That way you know how much more light you might need or anything of that sort. I wouldn't recommend doing the higher ND filters if it's not needed because you don't want to have to crank your ISO, but it's good to have this one. So if you have just something with the ND8 or something like that, you'll probably be best for most case scenarios unless the sun is really piercing through. So we're gonna go ahead and now use the ND64. This is what it looks like, again, overexposed, and now we're just gonna go ahead and put it onto the lens itself. That's how dark it gets. Now I'm gonna go ahead and essentially compensate the ISO to make it right. So we're gonna go to all the way to 800. So now we have it at 800 ISO where I have to compensate with the N64, but that's what it'll look like so you can have an idea of the look itself. So one thing I'll think is gonna be overkill is the ND 256, because it'll be for extreme harsh condition, probably like, high noon kind of style. But I'll still do it for now, just so you get an idea. I'm gonna bring it back to the ISO 100, and then I'll properly try to expose it as much as possible in camera, since this only goes to ISO 3200. So once again, we got the ISO 100. Now we're gonna do the ND 256 with this. And that's as simple as it gets. It's a magnetic thing, and that's how dark it is. So dark, but we're gonna go ahead and now adjust it as much as we can in camera. This is with the ND 256 in camera with the ISO 3200 outside. Obviously, I would not recommend you using it just for outside to crank up your ISO, but just so you get an idea of how much was needed to be able to have the ND 256 be used. So now we have the next filter kit, which is basically the circular polarizer, the circular variable ND filter, and as well an LPF little kind of filter, which that one is more if you want to change the light from nighttime for kind of bad lighting essentially with the lights. So not so much I would use, but 100% I think if you want to shoot through windows and anything, the circular polarizer is something needed. And as well, having a variable ND filter can be nice. So depending on what you're wanting to do, this filter's lens setup or the other one could be the right one for you, but now you get to see some examples. So the first thing that we're going to do is the variable ND filter to be able to show you what it can look like with one ISO setup, so that you can see how strong it is, if it shows any vignetting or anything of that sort, in case you were wondering for this one, since a lot of people say to not get a variable ND filter, but I think it's always needed if you're planning to just shoot a lot outside and the lighting is going to be changing, so you don't have to change too much with filters. So here's some examples with it. So once again, this is with the ISO 100 without the filter. Now we're just gonna put it all the way down, and then I'm gonna put it onto my lens itself. There's the filter. So if I stand right there, I'm gonna just go ahead and start slowly but surely moving it so you can kind of see the effects of it. You can go all the way down to the 5 and gradually kind of try to expose it right, since just want to showcase it a little bit more neutral right there. And that's how it would look like if I wanted to, change it up. If I want to darken my image a little bit, maybe I'll just start kind of going down, but my EB compensation is a -1 right there, -0.3. So that would be something that I'd be comfortable with, just to have it as well to be able to film her with a variable ND filter. But that way you can see if there's any vignetting. I can't see anything on the screen. It doesn't show any vignetting. So I think that's something very cool to have. So I'm going to be doing now the circular polarizer, putting it onto this real quick, just to show you it's that simple. It's magnetized, which is a nice part about the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. So if I start kind of right now, I want to start recording. If I start moving it around, you'll start seeing how it starts getting rid of a little bit of the reflections. I'm gonna have to adjust my ISO so you can see a little bit better, because it does darken it a little bit. That's just how it works with a circular polarizer. So now I'm at ISO 400. So if you see there, I'm just gonna start turning it so you can see a little bit how it works. Even on my screen right there, you start seeing me turn off, and then in there, it kind of gets rid of some of the reflections and then coming back on. But that's essentially what it is to use the circular polarizer, and as well the variable ND filter, which is very beneficial. The other filter itself, if you're planning to shoot a lot with I think it's fluorescent lighting, it can help out with that. I don't tend to do that as much, so that filter kind of doesn't matter to me, but the other two are very beneficial. That is really nice to have. But we're gonna move on to the next one so that you can see my most important one, in all honesty, because it'll make the image even better of this camera. Now we have the final filter set that I think is probably the most important one, is the Pro Mist filter set. This one has a black Pro Mist and a white Pro Mist filter that is a 1/2 inch strength, and that's for a circular polarizer. And the cool thing about all of these filters, they actually come with a screen protector for the screen itself, so you can have something as well for that to, cover all your bases. One of the reasons why I love this type of filters is because it softens up the image. And one of my things that I've never been the biggest fan of with this camera is the kind of over sharpness, regardless if you put it in under sharpened kind of mode. I want it to be a softer image. I like the way the Pro Mist filters look. So this is probably like my most favorite one whatsoever. The cool thing is you can also kind of stack them up if needed be, but you know, you got to be careful with everything. You don't want to overstack, but I'm gonna go ahead and show you what the Pro Mist filter looks like, especially because I kind of set up my lights right now behind me so you can see as well. I'm gonna go ahead and shoot in auto just because I wanted to showcase just the softness of it. I don't care about being properly exposed right now because I would have to stack up the variable ND filter, which I will in a bit, but just want to show you a little bit of the softness of it. The whole purpose of having some nice, you know, kind of Pro Mist filter type of things, because you can have a little bit of that light come down into her and then just have the nice exposure of herself. If you can see the little bit of the light over here, it looks nice and glowy kind of style. It just softens it up. So if I take off the little filter itself, now it becomes a little bit harsher. So that way you can get a different idea of how it's supposed to kind of go right there. So once again, I put my filter on it, it makes it softer, and that's the whole point of it. The point of using as well these little Pro Mist filters is because it softens up the face so that it doesn't look as digital as it could when it comes down to using these type of cameras. I love using this because it looks great, but I also don't like the sharpness that it has, so this helps reduce it a little bit so that it doesn't look as digital to me. It's just more of a stylistic preference. Now we're gonna use the black Pro Mist filter that it has and just kind of be able to use it so you can see the difference. So I'm gonna go ahead and film once again by itself right here with the light so you can see what it's looking, and that's basically it. And then we're gonna put the filter over it just so that you can see how it softens it up and makes it more, you know, kind of just softer and everything to the eye. So this shows you a little bit how much it just starts getting softer and expanding rather than just a harsh little light. So we're gonna go ahead and remove it so you can see a little bit of it. See, it's a little bit harsher. It doesn't kind of glow as much, but then if we add it a little bit again and bring this little filter right on top of that, you start seeing how much it just starts expanding and making it softer. So it just makes the image a lot smoother, softer, and it just works out to make it not as digital as possible. So when it comes down to having the filters, my bias and personal preference will be always having those, you know, kind of Pro Mist filters, whether it's the black Pro Mist filter or the other Pro Mist filter that it comes with, because it always comes with a circle polarizer as well. But if you want to get two of the best ones together, because it's my opinion that you probably need it, is if you want to be able to stack things up, you can choose to do it this way. Either get this one that has the variable ND filter to stack it up with the nice Pro Mist filter and the black Pro Mist filter like how I have it right now, to be able to soften up your image, but also get the right exposure if you want to become more manual, or if you want to just go ahead and put one filter on top of each other without having to have the variable ND filter, you can go ahead and get that ND filter kit, because you're gonna always need to get the proper exposure. So my advice would be, if you wanna have a softer image and you wanna have, you know, the proper exposure, go ahead, get either of these ND filter kits, but then for sure get that, you know, black Pro Mist filter kit, because you can get that softer image. Because I'll show you how it looks. So I have right now my nice little bit of, so you can see how I film myself, I guess. That's what it looks like with everything. So it's not properly fully exposed correctly. It says +1 over like the exposure compensation, but I can just go ahead and stack it up and then go ahead and it's just kind of start adjusting it accordingly so that it's properly exposed. This allows me to have my Pro Mist filter on top of it, and as well have my, you know, kind of ND filter to make sure that I have everything right. This is with the variable ND filter. So if I was just filming myself, I can make sure that I have everything properly exposed and as well have that softness that I seek for, so that it's not as very digital looking. It just has something nicer, and you're able to see, because if I want to darken it even more, I can, which I wouldn't recommend because you want to kind of keep it at the proper exposure. So there you go. This is what it would look like. This is what it would make sense for me. So hopefully it'll motivate you to get this kind of combo set, which, speaking of, everything will be attached down below. So if you want to go ahead and pick it up, they're going to be my affiliate links at no extra cost to you. It's not associated with Smallrig. They're just going to be my Amazon link. So if you want to check it out, go check it out down below to help out the channel that way, or get them wherever you can find them for a better price. It's up to you, but I do appreciate any support that you give the channel. And a PSA, if you do end up stacking them, make sure you take off the one on top or both of them off, because when you turn off your camera, it won't close. It'll close up with one, but it won't close up with both. So pick and choose which one you're going to use the most. And if you're going to keep it with that little protective case, there's a section in there to put it so you can put something away to keep it nice and condensed. So these are all the accessories that I recommend to maximize the capabilities of your camera. You want to ensure that you have some nice variable ND filters or ND filters themselves, as well as those black pro mist filters, because it'll just make the image that much better. My honest opinion of which ones I like the most is going to be the black pro mist filters, and getting it a little bit with the variable ND filter, because I can put it in here just to make sure that I put it in there to have it as a backup whenever I need to expose something better, take it off and just leave the pro mist filter at all times. But you can't go wrong with having some nice crispy sound with the wireless microphones the Smallrig provide, which obviously I only recommend these if you're wanting to use them only for that camera, because it comes with a USB Type-C only to be able to attach it with that, and that's the only way to record the audio. So something that would be good if you're planning to only use it for that camera. And as well, the little case that we were able to showcase a little bit of the capabilities of rigging it out. So if you need to rig out your little bit of DJI Osmo Pocket 3, this will be a nice little addition to it. So if you want to check out anything, please go ahead and check out the links in the description area. Support the channel if you like to by going through my affiliate links, but if you can find them anywhere else, like I said, go ahead and get what's best for you. And I'll just be happy that it can help you out to create the content that you're wanting to do at the most, professional way that you can, to ensure that you're using this camera to its fullest capability. So if you have any questions about any of the gear that I covered today, or anything whatsoever when it comes down to this camera, how I use it, what I try to do with it, and everything with the accessories, please leave a comment down below and I will do my best to help you out and see what will work out best for you. But with all that said and done, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, share this video with a friend. I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.